can you share with our listeners who you are and just a bit about your story, Danny?
Yeah, so my name's Danny Crates. In case you haven't worked out from the picture behind, I was a former Paralympic athlete. I did 3 Paralympic Games, Sydney, Athens, Beijing. But my journey didn't start out as a Paralympian. I was a rugby player when I was younger. Played at inter-county level, had dreams and aspirations of being a professional player. Unfortunately, at the age of 21, I was involved in a car crash in Australia and my life changed forever. But the person that I am is always forward thinking, and it's always about how can I make the most out of everything? And that's what I did. So I went through a whole journey, firstly back into rugby, then I went back to my other love, which is scuba diving, and I became a scuba diving instructor. Had a stint of as a shark display diver, one-arm shark display diver. Why wouldn't you have one of them in your tank?
Yeah.
And then eventually back into athletics, and I started a 12-year, or what I didn't know at the time, but it became a 12-year international athletics career that saw me go to the 3 Paralympic Games, bronze in Sydney over 400, gold in Athens over 800, and then flag carrier in Beijing 2008. Unfortunately, I injured myself and was unable to compete. And then in 2009, I retired. And then since then, I've worked in television. I cover Paralympic sport now. Worked on London 2012, Rio 2016, everything in between. Should have been in Tokyo 2020. Now Tokyo 2021. Highly unlikely it's going to be in Tokyo. Probably going to be Leeds or somewhere like that for us guys. But we're just happy to be working on it still. And then I also have I'm a speaker, and I'm sure we'll speak about that as well. And I've done that for over 20 years now, nearly 21 years. And I have a performance business as well.
Great. And so in regards to sort of the athlete mindset, how can we, sort of the listeners that are hearing this, how can we deal with the current situation using an athlete's mindset?
Yeah, that's a good one. And the athletes themselves that were preparing for Tokyo would have had to really dig deep into their athlete mindset. For me, the athlete mindset is about, we use 3 words, and it's called control the controllables. So in terms of me as an athlete, when I was stepping out onto a track to race in the finals, I can't control if it's raining and I like to run in the sun. I can't control if someone broke the world record 2 weeks before. Luckily they didn't, but had they, there's nothing I can do about it. I can't control if I had a bit of a cold building up to the race. I can't control any of that stuff. So what we try to do is we don't try, we definitely do. Try doesn't really, you can't try to do something, you either do it or you don't. So what we do is we don't sweat that stuff. It's not in our control. But what we do is we put all our focus on the stuff that we can control. That's where our energy goes, because that's stuff we can influence. So in terms of the current situation, I couldn't control when COVID hit. I couldn't control that the day they announced that we was going to start locking down just over a year ago, as you would know, Claire. But I had never had so many client calls in one 24-hour period. I mean, if they was all booking me, I would have retired off the back of that. But unfortunately, they was all cancelling or postponing. I couldn't control any of that. All I could control was how I reacted to it. So the first thing we do with COVID is we control it in the way that we do what we're asked to do as a population, right? So we follow the guidelines, we follow the rules, because that's the quickest way out of COVID, do what we've been asked to do. That's in our control. We can control that. But in terms of our business and our lifestyles, we do what we need to do. So we hunker down, we look after ourselves, we look after our well-being, we look after our families. And in terms of work, for me, I knew I couldn't go out and deliver. I knew I couldn't get on the stages anymore. So I switched everything to virtual. We created this space in my garden. This is a fully soundproofed studio really now, with cameras and soundboarding in it and lighting if I need it. I created lots and lots of online content. The clients weren't ready to come back online straight away. They weren't ready to do virtual keynote presentations or virtual team building events. But of course, what we did mainly is, as my business and the other business I have, which is 1404 Performance, was we just made sure the clients knew we were there for them. Yeah. Didn't force ourselves on them, didn't keep pushing them to rebook us for the event they postponed. It was just about, look, we get it. We're not going to push you. We're not going to chase you. We're not going to hold you to those deposits at the moment. If it's cancelled, it's cancelled. It's not in your control, so it's not in ours. But we're here for you if you. And the same for me. Just contacting the clients, making sure they know I'm there for them. If they need me to do anything, I'm prepared to do it. And that's what we do. And that's the athlete's mindset, really. It's about to take control of what you can take control of. But it's also about preparation, right? So I was injured in the build up to Beijing, and then I got injured again in Beijing. But for 5 months in that build up, I was actually unable to run. And as an athlete, when you get injured, and you can't do the thing you're designed to do, what you don't do is just sit around and wait for you to be able to run again. Because if I just sat there for 5 months and then suddenly the physio went, oh, you can run again now, Dan, and I expected to hit the track running, it's never going to work. I'm not going to be physically, mentally fit enough and strong enough to take on the training again. So what I did during those 5 months in 2008 was we did all my training in different ways, and we prepared my body ready for when I got the green light again. And that's what we do now as business people. The world is starting to open up again. We don't know what's around the corner. We hope it's all going to be, grass shoots and sunshine all the way through now. But what we do is we prepare for when it all starts opening up, so that when they do press the green light, we're not left behind. We're ready to hit the ground running, and that's what I've done. So we're now ready to, everything was as the virtual world has really started to open up now, and lots of more conferences are coming through virtually, prepared to deliver them because I've changed and adapted everything I do. But I'm also prepared and ready to go out and start speaking live again. So I've put myself in that position, and I've made sure that by doing all the podcasts for people and things like that, I've kept myself out there in different arenas that I wouldn't normally be in. So I've used it to my advantage. Hasn't necessarily created financial wealth, but what it's done is by doing different people's podcasts and interviews and radio and stuff like that, the stuff that I don't normally concentrate on so much, I've got to a whole new audience.
Yeah, I think actually a lot of speakers have done the same thing, which is realize that financially it might not go that way, but using this year to market, what you're doing is you're increasing your target audience. You are getting seen by different clients that never would have seen you, and certainly, Danny, we've talked about it, where a lot of work comes from referrals. So getting a new clientele is really difficult. So using this time to do that has been great. And in your talks, one of your talks, you talk about stepping out of your comfort zone. So I wanted to know what positives have come out of the last 12 months for you.
So for me, stepping outside your comfort zone is massive, because if you don't do it, then you're not doing anything different, right? And if you don't do anything different, you get the same results.
Yeah.
And stepping outside your comfort zone, especially from the world of sport, isn't always about, and with business, it's not about working harder or training harder. Sometimes it's about training smarter or being prepared to do things slightly differently. I always build it around the MasterChef story. When I did MasterChef in 2015, and I used that because actually MasterChef reminded me of the importance of that. So I had it all through my athletics career, but I'd kind of forgotten it for a while, how important it was to do something different, try something different. And MasterChef is a hot pot, really, literally, when you go in there. But by choosing and saying yes to it, I got to find out what I was really capable of. So what this current year has done with me, so referrals has always been my way of getting work. So I've never really engaged with social media that much. It doesn't float my boat, if I'm honest. I will put stuff out there when I'm doing stuff, but I'm not one who spends hours trawling and also writing loads and loads of content. Personally, I prefer to be out and meet people face to face. So I've kind of built up this barrier against social media and what it's there for. But I suddenly couldn't meet people face to face anymore. I suddenly couldn't sit and have a coffee with the CEO of a business, or I couldn't meet clients after an event, after I'd spoken, and have conversations with them, heartfelt conversations. So now I had to find a new way. So it's actually forced me to step outside my comfort zone and engage with social media. But what's important is I've done it my way. So I haven't jumped in there and started putting loads and loads of content out there and, come and book me because I can do this and that, because that's not me. But what I have done is I've started to engage a little bit with it. I've started to connect with people again, and I've used it that way. And it's just giving me a presence. It's just showing people I'm still there. I'm still producing stuff. I'm still delivering presentations. So that for me, that has been the big one. And having a baby, that is one way of stepping out.
Oh yeah, just that extra one there. And how's the baby? How's the family?
Yeah, all good. So we having a Paralympian in your life, my missus found out you don't do things by half. So she fell pregnant just really on the cusp of us going into lockdown. So we had Isla was born on the 8th of December. So we had a baby, but in that process, we moved house 2 weeks before that as well. Wow. So we've had a baby, gone through COVID, and moved house all within the space of a very short space of time. Wow.
Yeah, you've definitely got a keynote talk in there already, just with that.
Yeah, just the last year, I think it can.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. My presentation is titled "No Hurdle is Impossible to Overcome," and I truly believe that in life. And that has always been the starting point of my presentation. I talk about no hurdle is impossible to overcome, but it stings a bit when you hit them. And mine was the car crash. But I do believe that we have the ability to cope with anything that's put in front of us. It doesn't mean it's easy. It doesn't mean we don't suffer through it. But that's the thing that's always astounded me. I used to work with the Limbless Association, helping people that have been newly acquired amputees. Now through being a Paralympian, I taught scuba diving for many years all over the world, and I specialise in people with disabilities. And the one thing that's always stuck with me is it doesn't matter what people go through, how traumatic it is, and it can be painful. Losing people, illness, disability, businesses going under, financial stress, whatever it looks like. We always come through it with a new strength and a new resilience. Now, that's strange to say because, of course, if you go through something really traumatic, how can you come out of it with a strength? But we do. Like I say, we acknowledge that it does hurt, but we come out with something. And there's always the only difference with people is some people are quicker than others to get out of that. But and that's testament to the human being, right? We're designed, we are resilient. I did a piece, my little baby in there was trying to get a thumb in her mouth for nearly 4 weeks. Now that is perseverance and resilience at its best. She moaned a bit, but she never once gave up. And that led me, I didn't do much social media. I wrote a post about it. It's just like, at what point do we start becoming less resilient? Because a baby, that's one element of what a baby learns. Learning to crawl, stand, walk, trying to win themselves. We're in that process at the minute, where she's trying to get the burps out herself rather than rubbing her back all the time. But everything is a learning for them, and they have to be resilient to do it. And that's one thing. A good friend of mine who I rode John O'Groats to Land's End with, and he always says about me, he says, like, Dan, I can never work out with you. He says, like, it doesn't matter what happens, you bounce back. And I think it's because I have a simple formula, really. So I'm always looking forward. It's always about, what can I achieve next and how can I get there? And what can I learn from what's happened? Because that's the sporting mindset as well. We never move on without learning. If we win, we still try and learn something and move on. If it doesn't go well, we don't see it as a failure. You've got a result, you just didn't get the one you looked for. There's still a result in there, and if the result is there's something you can take away from it to take it forward.
Yeah, I completely agree. And for, in regards to advice then, what would be, if you could only give one piece of advice to our listeners, what would it be?
I'd say it's always follow your dreams and your gut feelings, really, because it will guide you the way. Never be put off having a dream and an aspiration, and work towards. Because even if you don't get there, even if you don't get to that one, and there's no reason why you can't, even if you don't, you learn so much along the way. So when I eventually took the decision to stop playing rugby, this was after losing my arm. I was playing rugby, and I took the decision to give athletics a go. The mindset I had was, what's the worst that will happen? The worst that will happen is I'll try athletics, it doesn't work out, I go back to rugby, fitter, faster, stronger. I had the same when I was a scuba diving instructor. I didn't initially go out to be an instructor. I went out to see how far into the world of professional diving I could go as a guy with one arm. I got to the first level of professionalism. I took the decision to go to the instructor level with the mindset that, what's the worst that will happen? And the worst that happens is I don't make it as an instructor, because there's no grey area with like, oh yeah, Dan, you don't have to do that rescue skill because you only got one arm. We'll let you off that one. It's like, you're responsible for people's lives. So it's like, you either do it or you don't, you pass, you fail. It doesn't matter whether you've got 4 limbs or 1 limb, the same rules apply. So I went for it. But I thought, if I don't make the instructor grade, I'll go back to being a dive master, which is like an underwater tour guide. But I'll have extra knowledge. Same with the athletics. It's like, I didn't immediately want to become a champion, and it was about, I wanted to see if I can become an international, get the GB vest. I got the vest, and I thought, well, now the people on the podium have a lot more fun. I wonder if I can get on a podium. So I'll start on that journey, which was like more investment from me, really, more dedication. But what's the worst that would happen? I don't make it, but I'd eventually go back probably to rugby again, once again, fitter, faster, strong. And it's that mindset that I've always tried to use. It's not easy, and I'm not professing that I've always got it right, and it's been a smooth ride for me. I've had my ups and downs, and I think that's the first thing, is honesty as well. It's never going to be easy, but that's the mindset I've always had. Give it a go for the dreams, go for the aspirations, because You may get them, and hopefully you will, but even if you don't, you're still going to be a better person for the journey.